I want to give a little more time. I'm fine, right? We have 1.5 hours.
Okay, so good evening, good morning, good afternoon, all. It's a breather in all this pandemic situation. We thought let's have a session from none other than our Jyotibai. So those who don't know, let me introduce Jyotibai to all of you. He's from our 95 alumni batch. Uh, Jyotibai is an information technology leader. More than 2 decades, as you can see, of experience in IT. He has experience in data warehousing, data lake, business intelligence, master data management, and analytics. Presently, Jyotibai is responsible for the customer NDM and sales account integration program at Dell, where he works directly with sales operation, sales analytics, and Dell Commerce Service business units in implementing a range of MDM, analytics, and data lake solutions. Jyotibai worked as AVP of Enterprise Data Services at RBS Citizens, Cranston, US. He oversaw the architecture group there, including the implementation of Teradata financial models for commercial loan applications, and AML KYC solution. Jyotibai also worked at HP, Johnson & Johnson, PSMA, I am not aware of that. Jyotibai has to tell that. And TCS in the past. Not only Jyotibai is MCA from our department, he also holds a master's degree in business administration from New England College of Business, Boston. Uh, we are fortunate enough to hear from Jyotibai today. We have been trying to connect all of you with our experienced alumni in some way or other. It's a great opportunity for all of us and the students as well. Uh, Listen to Jyotibai carefully and let's have an engaging session. On a personal front, uh, my interactions with Jyotibai has been great. I have been really an admirer of him, so much down to earth person. I will leave it to his batchmates to tell a little bit about his personal side. Just to tell you all of you, Jyotibai has just recovered from COVID and he is doing all well, as you can see, all smiling and all healthy. Uh, so those who are still scared and having any apprehension, you can also today talk to Jyotibai how he has recovered and little bit of experience on that side. Okay, let me ask Himanshu Bhai to tell little bit about Jyoti's personal side. Himanshu Bhai.
Don't
Thanks,
spill
Prasad.
too much, man. Don't spill too much.
Jyotir, you really want me to say something or what?
What can I
Okay,
say?
guys. Jyoti is very easygoing person and is easy accessible. And the best thing what I know Jyoti as a person, very calm and composed person. And the one thing I always like him, and I always try to be like that. If somebody asks me that questions, then uh, he takes the things at easy. It means never panic. It's okay. Let's see it. Let's face it. Kind of person. So I never see any panic, any seriousness, or any kind of stuff. So easygoing person. Take the life as it is. So that is the only thing I like him very much. The only thing I always remember Jyoti, he is my Japanese classmate. We used to go to the Okak Center and in the early morning in the 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or something. And that 2 hours and I there with him. And we two are there. We used to go. I used to go and pick up from the fourth hostel and pick him, and then we used to go to the Okak Center. And that almost around I think 1.5 years, we more than 2 years, Jyoti. And we most probably we sit together and we sometimes we don't understand, we make noise in the class as well. So that is the moment I always like, and that because that is the timeline which I spend most with Jyoti, because no one is there, no batchmates are there, me and Jyoti, and that is the best time I ever had with Jyoti. Coming back to personal side, I think Jyoti, you married, right?
No, man, I want to.
You wanted to be. And
Do I have a chance? Um,
and he has two sons, and one is doing computer science engineering, I think BITS Pilani in Goa, and he recently I think 12th passed out, and he joined in Goa BITS Pilani. And the second one is, I think, class 6th or 7th, right, Jyoti?
10th now. 10th. Yeah.
Yeah, so he is a very nice person and a single word, and I always like, I never seen any anger in his face, I never seen anything. He's always smiling, always easygoing, easy accessible person. So the best part is, if you need anything in the technical side or anything, and he is the person, go-to person, and you can easily go and ask, and I think he is the best guy. That is the most. Otherwise, I don't want to spill off anything, but that's it.
All right. Well,
That
first
way,
of all,
Upper joined today's session or not?
he is planning to join, I guess. I don't know. People are asking, are you going to join? Oh, says no, bye-bye.
Okay,
Um,
so just to tell that side also to everybody, Jyotibai is married to our 96 alumni, Gitanjali Appa. Uh, so we will see, I think, Appa also in the call today, hopefully. Yeah, Jyotibai, up to you. The floor is yours.
all
Well,
right.
so Jyotibai, before you take it forward, let me just add one thing. What Himanshu mentioned, I still remember the conversation, Jyotibai, you and I, we had. That's my first year in MCA, and what you said that you will build the technology as you go and join the industry, but communication is very important. And make sure that you are working on the communication, make sure that whatever you are doing, you are well communicating with your peers, with your seniors, and that's going to help a lot. Until now, I really hold that advice, and that was a really a big piece of the advice that you shared with me, and personally, it helped me a lot. So thank you, Jyotibai.
Oh wow, I really don't remember that, but that's
Oh, I
good that you have.
remember, and
Thank
in
you
the
so
fourth
much for
hostel
sharing.
in your in your room, and we had probably 90 minutes of the conversation, and that was really good. Thank you again.
Well, thank you for sharing. Well, I on that note, I will tell you this is very relevant even now for all of us, because as we um, get longer and longer in this industry and in our career path, the expectation also grows, right? Technology has become easy where you can easily adapt to learning things. But what is hard is how do you communicate that so that people can understand in a way that is easy for them to digest, and then have that conversation going forward so that, things happens. And I will tell you, with the remote working situation that we all of us are going to be seeing for a long time coming ahead of us. That's going to be one very important thing. We don't see people face to face. How do we really establish that connectivity, the personal connect that always works in IT? And with a global company that most of us work for, or all of us work for, um, that's definitely very important. I do take courses that help me. Honestly, we in our company also we get courses that we do take just to remind us that the importance of communication and group good prep work, and being able to present your content in an effective and easily digestible way. So certainly very important. I strongly encourage, no matter where you are in your career, do not forget that. That's very important for all of us. All right. Well, I want to thank all of you, first of all. Finding time and like 1.5 hours coming and listening to someone who you may or may not know enough, or you don't know what kind of information you're going to take away from this session, because all of us pretty much spend a lot of time on learning different stuff. My objective for this presentation has been when I was thinking about the audience, right? Most of you are as old as me, close to my age. Some of you are younger. So the content that I have prepared is kind of going to give you a picture that I have gone through in last 3 decades, seen what has happened, and then kind of maybe that will give you some sort of information where you will get that view of a landscape that you might have or might not have. So that's my goal, and that might help you a little bit to figure out how do you really look into stuff and maybe figure out some additional learning based on the content I'm going to be sharing today. All right, with that, let me share my screen. Um, so the topic is digital transformation. And again, the reason I wanted to keep this topic as digital transformation, and you see a lot of digital transformation topics anyway, right? There's a lot of conversation in the industry. There's a lot of conversation within my company. I'm pretty sure a lot of your companies might be having a lot of conversation around this idea of digital transformation. And it's just not now, but it has been happening for, I would say, last decade or even more. The word digital transformation is there, and it has been becoming more and more real. That a lot of companies are really accelerating that piece of transformation. So that is why I felt it's probably a good idea. Why not choose a topic that also I spend time in researching, understanding, and applying to my work, but also looking at certain aspects that I even cannot apply in my work, but I can relate that yes, why it is happening. Right. So with that, let's just take a look at the definition of transformation. Just got it from Business Dictionary. But if you see that a process of profound and radical change that orients an organization in a new direction and takes it to an entirely different level of effectiveness. If you look at a little bit of this content, what it says is very important, right? It's just not something incremental. It could be incremental, but it is transformational in nature, where your business or whatever the institution is doing, really looking at to take its effectiveness to the next level. And that is what's happening with the digital transformation. The digital part of the transformation really bringing that effectiveness, which I want to kind of share with you in this presentation. So the agenda for today is actually, I'm going to take you through a little bit about the 90s, then the 2000s, and the 2010s, and 2020, what's happening now. And at the end, I will take you through a little bit of Dell Technologies. What are we doing? How are we relating to this idea of digital transformation? And you will get to see a little bit of our products and technology and what is happening within there. So I can share some of our own internal stories. Please feel free if you have any question, ask me. No problem. I think, let me see. Is there a chat enabled that I can see? I don't see the chat. So if any question comes in the chat.
Yeah, the chat is enabled, Jyoti.
Okay, I am not able to see the chat, but if any question comes in, please pause me and ask any question.
Yeah, we will take it to you. Fine.
Awesome, thank you. So, Himanshu and I, we both passed out in 1995. And some of you are also kind of completed your MCA in that 90s. 90s actually created the foundation for digital transformation. Very important because up until 90, The cost of the computer was so high, it was not even possible to buy enough laptops or desktop computers where companies can easily give it to the employees. So in 1995, sorry, in 1985, if you would buy a desktop PC, you're probably thinking of spending about 5 lakhs in India, right? By 1990 or early 90s, the cost of PC really drastically reduced with the availability of the newer technology and the raw materials and the hardware stuff getting cheaper. So what I've seen, 50,000 rupees is kind of the average cost where you could buy a computer by 1995. So that's a great thing happening around that time, right? Companies can afford. And then what happened is the globalization, another very important thing. Why globalization is so important for digital transformation? If you look at this, digital transformation would not have been possible without having the ability to really opening up the market across the world. If India would not have opened up the market in 1990s, where it was willing to let the foreign investor come in and invest in India, then we would not be seeing the proliferation of a lot of company who came in and established, their offshore setting here. China also opened up big time there around that time. There were a lot of trading related, commercial related, bilateral, trilateral, treaties were in place, like NAFTA, right? North America Free Trade Association. That's something between Mexico, US, and Canada. The whole idea was open up the market so that it's easy to commerce, easy to trade. Similarly, European Union was formed at that point, and it was opening up. So now you think about that. Europe, North America, Mexico, India, China, and many other countries were opening up their market. When that was happening, internet was also picking up that time. The World Wide Web was launched around 1992 formally, right, or 93. When it was open, it was kind of creating this big buzzword. I remember that time in 1994, I believe, yeah, 1994, in our computer science department, we had this CSI, Computer Society of India. We had invited a bunch of speakers, guests that time, and they were talking about this thing called information superhighway. I could not really relate, but what sounded like is something big. And World Wide Web was called Information Superhighway before it became World Wide Web. What happened around that time is when the web came in and people were able to connect and start to see different content, doesn't matter where it is, then there was this idea that, what, everybody in the world is going to need some sort of connectivity to the internet. Therefore, a lot of companies came in and started to build this thing called submarine cable. Very important. I think that changed the landscape. What that is connecting the countries with high-speed data bandwidth. You will see a little bit of detail after this. Now, that really opened up the adoption of internet as a way to do offshoring. Because although the commerce did not pick up a lot in late 90s, probably the 2000s where the e-commerce started to pick up, it was just starting up, but it enabled. Now, sitting in the TCS office in India, we were able to connect to a server in Switzerland and delivering our product to them, right? We were able to sit inside our data consultancy office, but still able to fix bugs while connecting to the server in Switzerland. So those kind of things opened up. So 90s were the foundation, I would say. And let's take a look at what is the submarine cable. If you have not looked at this before, this is extremely important. From a foundation to what you are seeing, the ability to connect across countries, get the data, upload and download so quickly, right? What this is what you see. This is the cables, fiber optic cables lying under the ocean, connecting from one country to the other. US has the maximum landing zone in New York area, the maximum landing zone, if you see right here. That's where it all started. And then directly we'll see the wires connecting from North America to Europe, and North America to South America to Asia, right? You'll see all of this. These things are called landing points, cable landing points, where the coaxial cable starts from the land somewhere in the US, goes down under the ocean, and then comes to another country, and then comes to the land, right? Now, when we are looking for a content, right? That content sitting in US. Now we are able to see that content. That is where the data is coming. Right now, 90, I believe, whatever I did, my research says 99%, I believe, of the data traffic is between the countries are traveling through optical cables. There was a time where satellite was kind of thought of. It can provide that kind of connectivity, but satellite data transmission for internet need was not reliable, so really not being used as much. Now, this 15 is for India. India right now we have 15 landings, but then there are more happening. Why it is important, I will tell you a little bit briefly. Think about most of the data centers in the world, right? Most of the data centers, if you look at it, a lot of them, the large ones, are in US. Now, when you have a large data center in US, what is the meaning of it from a commerce perspective, right? That country can have a lot of option for providing cloud solutions because you have the data center, you have the bandwidth where data traffic can allow you to get the data to other countries, right? Now, therefore, in US, you will see a lot of cloud hosted data centers are present. Now, there are countries now looking very closely how to really use the cloud transformation happening in the industry right now, take advantage of that from a commerce perspective. Coming back to India, Reliance, if you do a little research in Google, Reliance has already made enough investment where they're planning to run two cables, one going to Europe, which will land in Italy and support some of the Italy and surrounding regions, and one going through Singapore to Malaysia. What does that mean is Reliance, you see that how it is transitioning towards a company where it is now providing a lot of cable service or the data service within India. Now they are looking into providing streaming service. So India is not their primary market for the streaming, but they know that Bollywood content is very well received in these parts of the world. So now they're creating that. They're investing billions of dollars so that when that is established, that opens up tons of business opportunity for them. That is the benefit. That is what the submarine cables has have given to us. Right? Here is the 2000s. So what happened now that the 90s has given that foundation where the data can be transmitted from between the countries, the commerce has opened up, but then 2000s really took that to a next level. I think the big one was when the mobile communication cost dropped significantly. I remember when I was in the US in 1998, I would spend easily $200, $300 every month my phone cost, like the talking over the phone to India or using the normal phone usage. But then I don't remember what is the time frame, but the cost dropped so significantly, so it was so cheap to connect to India, and voice over IP came in. So that's what enabled the mobile commerce, honestly. And then the smartphones were coming up that time, right? The iPhones and Androids, they're picking up. And then the big thing happened is Google, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, they were all coming in around 2004-5 time frame. So this idea of social networking was kind of going high speed, right? You all know about that. A little bit of blip happened with the financial crisis. I won't cover that much on that, but really, little bit of slowness in 2000 because of that. But then also the gaming industry was growing heavily. Again, these are all related to transformation of the digital side of what was available, right? What is profound in my mind is how the streaming media transformed, primarily because of Netflix. Not only it took out businesses like Blockbuster and other businesses that were solely dependent on selling cassettes, DVDs, or renting them. But really, the Netflix changed the game, the streaming media. We'll see that a little bit, how it happened. And um, governments also going online, very important because the transformation cannot just happen with the private sector. Transformation needs to be happening with the government. They're the big spender, a lot of money they have. And I believe a lot of governments, especially US and European countries and some other countries, they invested heavily in the government spending going digital. Let me show you. So if you look at this left-hand side, right, you see this is the US government service and information. Look at it a little bit. You will see that as a citizen, you pretty much whatever you need, you can go here, you can get to it. I mean, they have been refining it over the period of time, but if you look at it, you want something, right? You want a healthcare service, you can get it. You want your insurance, you can get it. Law and legal issues, you are a small business, what needs to be done? You are a college student, you need loan, grants, everything. Yeah. Like if you want to apply to an US college, really you have to first go to the government site and then sign up for certain things. And then if you are eligible, you get a loan. And that's all connected to the college. You don't have to do anything. The loan or the grants are like scholarships that you get it easily. Everything is interconnected. Similarly, disability service, education, right? A lot of stuff related to education, housing, and everything you see here. Right? When they were building it out, honestly, that gave a foundation also to look at how it is being done. And a lot of private company also um, used government initiatives as a reference to see how they can apply certain things. Even if you look at the artificial intelligence and all of those transformation, this stuff that's happening right now, also take a look at, do some research, you will find out how much of money some countries are investing government-wise on those areas. You'll be amazed. A lot of startups and so many things going on. Governments are really funding so that they want to see how to leverage this stuff, right? The new and upcoming technologies and take benefit from them. There are also countries who not only wanting to put online, but they also wanted to see how do we build a framework so that it is can support a large scale deployment like what a country needs. Right? This is something from European Union. They have done actually Europe has done a lot of proof of concepts just to see how to implement stuff. And if you research in Europe specific content, you will find a lot of that. So you see that how they are kind of putting some framework as to how do we really govern, manage, create, sustain something at a massive scale, right? And for India, you can also honestly take a look at how Aadhaar has been implemented, how UPI has been implemented. Very interesting case studies. If you look at right, you can find it out because these are massive implementation that has happened. And again, these are all transformation related to um, how digital technologies can be used to transform, whether it's a society need or citizens need or governments need or private companies need. Any questions so far? Okay, so definitely we can have some Q&A at the end. So let's take a look at the 2010s. What happened in 2010s from 2000s, right? You saw the 2000, the media, streaming media was kind of hot, started in 2007 from Netflix. But it was not easy for Netflix to really sitting in US and then providing the content all over the world. For that to happen, this idea of content delivery network play a huge role. And I'll show you a little bit. Facebook, Google, or YouTube for that matter, all of them, you're sitting in India and you are able to see this content so easily, right? There is no lag these days. And those things are possible because of this CDN, how it has been implemented. Of course, the cloud came in, the big data came in 2010. So we'll take a look at a little bit more detail in that. I want to show you some numbers. But those are the things kind of gave opportunity to companies, to the governments, to a lot of new startups to find a way to not only get into the business, but also how do you do an economy of scale? How do you really scale it out and also build an economy around it so that you can make it profitable, right? So a lot of things that really came in 2010s. Of course, the 4G helped increasing the mobile commerce, AI and IoT and automation. We'll take a look at this a little bit more. But these were becoming kind of, if you have seen the Gartner hype cycle, 2010 is the time where these kind of things were kind of going up in the hype cycle. Industries were adopting, thinking that, hey, this is the thing that we should look at. CIOs or the CEOs were thinking that, you know what, we should be investing on it, right? So those things were going on. Cybersecurity became very important because of how the internet became the mainstream in doing business. And that exposed many companies into many risks. So cybersecurity is very important. I'm hoping and assuming that all of you, whatever company you work for, you're seeing the security is becoming your front and center, which I'm seeing. I tell. We can talk a little bit at the end. Um, Also, at the same time, we have seen new methodologies came in, Agile and DevOps, probably much more familiar on this, and a lot of stuff around how to become more personalized in terms of the customers or campaigns, the stuff, anything that connects out of your company to the customers, how to become more personalized. Of course, the mobile commerce. So that's 2010. Let's take a look at this. The CDN network is very important. I felt this is something cool that has really transformed a lot that we see happening right now, and we are enjoying the beneficiary of what has happened. Content delivery network, also known as Edge network. What are these? Is really all these things you see here. Google as Edge nodes. These are servers sitting somewhere. Right? You see that in India, in anywhere you see it's there. Right? In US, you don't see a whole lot because US has the primary content. So what happens similarly, right? A lot of here, look at this Facebook, how many edge networks they have. I mean, I don't know how long back this picture I pulled it out from Google, but the whole idea is your primary content is sitting where the content is being produced. So if the content is being produced in the US, the first copy of the content is sitting in the US, somewhere in the data center. Now, that content is actually being watched in another country, Africa, India, South America, right? Now, you cannot really go every time, fetch the content from US and display it. And when thousands of people are connecting, it's virtually impossible to get the speed that you want to give them. So what happens, these contents are getting pushed down to all these edge servers. And these are the servers where this acts like caching. Now, your content come in, sits here. Now you are connecting from India, it will fetch somewhere local to you. Now, all these things are behind the scenes stuff happening. A lot of analytics has gone behind it, like what kind of content should be coming into India? Because see, one person sitting there cannot push the content, right? This has to be all intelligently created and built. Netflix has done that already, where they have algorithms where they can figure it out what kind of content India would need today or tomorrow. So they will kind of queue up, and they have the limited capacity, so they will queue out anything that is not going to be kind of as heavily demanded by the users. So they keep doing it every day, all the time, constantly happening, right? So that is what the benefit of edge networks. So also it is happening in the real time. And if you look at it, what is the benefit of this edge network? It really reduces the strain on server to user submarine traffic. Now, you really don't have to go from India to US to see that content because that content lives somewhere locally. And that has really opened up a lot of the media streaming gaming business industry, everywhere. So 2020s, right? This is now, and if you look at it, a lot of conversation happening around AI, IoT, 5G, automation. We'll take a look at that a little bit more. So to me, based on what I see, how things are evolving, I see that innovation at scale. These things are there. AI is there, IoT is there, 5G, automation, all of them are there. But how to really scale it out and really use it, and how to really create a, a economy around this, like how to make money out of it. That is what a lot of happening right now. Um, Similarly, IT access at scale for cloud, big data, and mobile. Even last decade, the IT access at scale is there, but now the demand of that has been significantly growing, and it is actually creating new business opportunities. Like I was telling, Reliance is investing more than few $1 billion. I don't know exactly, but I believe it's 2 billion plus. So that alone, they're spending in running that cable between India and Europe, between India and some of the Asian countries like Singapore, Malaysia, and all of that. So when that cable is established, they will need to have large data centers where they can host this content and then do all kind of streaming related stuff so that that content can be delivered across the world, right? So now you see that the scale is coming into play, and if you don't know, India has the second largest data center in Navi Mumbai, and you know who has built that? What is the group that does the construction? Forgot. Anyhow, forgot the name. But good thing. Look, we do have large data centers in place. Now we can build out more data centers. Now you build that scale, you have more business opportunity. So that gives you a relative idea that if you have large number of use cases of creating data in India, that meaning, of course, there will be a growth in cloud related demand, skill set, similarly big data. And when you all have that, analytics by default comes into play, because like how Netflix is needing all those analytics, similar stuff Reliance will need, and any other company who is venturing into those cloud and big data space in a large scale, they will all need those kind of skill sets. So again, you can relate how the skill set demand is also shifting depending on where you are, what kind of growth is happening in that market, and kind of all that right back. Autonomous systems, yes, you're probably seeing that when the automobiles becoming more autonomous, robots becoming more autonomous, all of that. Take a look a little bit. Again, security first, I see that it has started in last decade, but it is really, really becoming more critical, important. Most of the company I see at Dell, it is becoming like everyday stuff, every week stuff that we cannot forget about security. We have targets to meet, constantly being needing to revamp our legacy application to make them more security compliant. Happening. In fact, if time permits, I can share some more stuff. Blockchain, crypto, I see it is happening. I have not done much research on blockchain and crypto, honestly, but I see that these are still kind of relevant. These are still kind of important. Still play a good role in transformation of the digital side of uh, what needs to happen there. Connected systems, we'll take a look at it. Kind of how everything is connected together. That's how I see the 2020s, smart cities, and all of that that is happening, right? So the next segment, we're going to take a little bit deeper look at it. So my objective is to give you some sort of idea about, depending on where your career is, what you do, right? You can probably, think about some of these indicators and see how you can, build around it, depending
Yeah,
on what's your passion.
Jyotiraj, Jyotiraj, there is an interesting question from Arunbhai. Arunbhai has I think left the meeting, but before we move ahead, he wanted to know your perspective on the days coming ahead, maybe around 2050 time. So, what do you think of digital transformation in 2050?
So
Uh,
let's have the question to the end.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, because that will give some perspective and we can tie back. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
We can formulate some hypotheses as to looking at how it looks, right?
Yeah, okay.
Good question. So let's pay attention a little bit here. Look at this. This is if you don't know who Genovo is, right? Genovo is a research, um, like Forrester research company. They work with a lot of businesses. They work with industry experts. They formulate an opinion, right, about industries. They run a lot of presentations, and a lot of companies are tied to Genova in terms of understanding what is happening. Like Dell is tied to Genova, so I get to be part of some of the Genova related activities where I can see their presentation. So these are all publicly available, so nothing to worry about if you want to share this content anyway. Now, 2019, their market research says that right now, the AI software market in banking, finance, healthcare, and retail, right, is between 13 to 15 billion dollars. But then by 2024, 5 years, the projection is it is going to grow at 40% rate, becoming like a 75 to 80 billion dollar industry. And if you look at that, where it is going to grow, North America going to grow heavily, and Europe and APAC. So you should expect that India will have some growth. But artificial intelligence, I do believe it is going to grow. It is kind of interesting. I think we'll take a look at it in the next slide. But if you look at this, there are some industries which are already well ahead from adopting AI, like banking industry, for example. They've been using it for quite a while, right? So um, they are kind of crossed that inflection point where they have invested a whole lot. Healthcare and healthcare, especially, they have really not invested a whole lot in AI, and there's a huge uptick in the healthcare. Also, telecom now is investing heavily, but all in all, there's a lot of other industries are also investing. That's why you see this 40% also growth happening, global AI software market. Um, so that is an interesting perspective to take away, that if you are thinking, should I really invest time in AI, learning AI? I would say you should, because if AI becoming so widely kind of a front runner, where a lot of investment dollars going to be spent there, a lot of technology demand will be there. As much you know about AI, your value will be higher as opposed to not knowing AI. So just so you can relate. And if you relate to the industries where it is growing, like healthcare, telecom, definitely growing, and everywhere it is actually, there's this good, strong demand of AI. Um, Why it is happening? If you look at it, there's a ton of savings. So if you look at this, their research indicates that US alone can save 150 billion in healthcare market alone. Um, so, I mean, I don't want to speculate how it is going to be happening. Assume that that is happening, right? And seven, look at this: 300 billion additional value in marketing and sales through AI. So if you can do a better campaign, better targeted campaign, and all of that, that's savings. At Dell, we have also been investing in AI to improve our campaign percentage. We spend billions of dollars, quite frankly, in not billions, millions of dollars, probably a lot of money we spend in marketing campaigns and all that. So if you just improve 10% of that by applying AI, that's significant savings also. Yeah, just to give an idea. Now, they're a little small, but you can get an idea about who are the companies really. These are the US Fortune 200 enterprises. If you look at it, innovators, Walmart, American Express, Verizon Communication, and then again, this doesn't include technology industry like Google's of the world, but other industries. This graph, right? If you see that a lot of companies are actually in that space where they are willing to invest in AI, and they're actually being able to innovate. And you see that Netflix is here, but Walmart is really here, depending on how this report is being viewed. But I'll just walk you through an Walmart use case. How they are doing it, because AI is an area of experimentation, right? The whole thing, a lot of time, a lot of companies do POCs, but then how to really operationalize it has become the biggest challenge. Even at Dell, that is the case. How to operationalize it? Yes, we can see something, but it doesn't make much sense. Maybe not giving as much value that we would like to see. Either drop it or kind of, okay, let's just keep it warm, let's keep going, right? Certain things easy, but when it comes to the predictive side of it, right? That is where the difficulty is in establishing that return on investment. Walmart here, if you look at it, what they have created, this is a store, I believe, in New York. What they call it is Intelligent Retail Lab, and which has about 30,000 retail items inside. They have cameras everywhere. They have a data center on site because they really cannot uh, take that much of volume of data to cloud on site in that Walmart, uh, that experimentation concept store. They pump out 1.6 terabyte of data per second. Just imagine how much of data getting out of that, cameras and everything, sensors, whatever they built out. But why? What they want to do with it? The whole concept is around these three things: where and when to restock. Very important for them, because if you have meat and the meat is sitting there for too long, open react, it's not a good idea. If not enough meat, it's a problem, right? So they used to have a lot of people. I mean, they still have this concept store. If you have seen Walmart, you will see Walmart will have like 100, 200 employees inside. They will be constantly looking at restocking. Similarly, availability of shopping carts, are there enough open registers and stuffing supporting that? So now what is happening is all these things, the idea is getting real-time computed and information is made available to the people who are responsible to kind of ensuring these things are happening timely. So that's how, Walmart is doing it, but then other companies also kind of doing a lot of some different kind of experimentation. But AI, I would say right now, still being very much experimented. And you will see all these companies here who are behind and companies who are early adopters, they are really in the experimentation phase also. Now, you can rely, depending on what company you are in, take a look at it, what is happening. You'll get an idea why you are not an innovator, maybe an early adopter, why this research paper thinks that way. Okay. This is the final slide in AI use case. What they have done is use cases. What kind of use cases? They divided in different zones. Zone one being kind of stuff around robotics, right? Zone two is stuff around uh, more retail side of stuff. If you see that, right? A lot of stuff around retail and healthcare. Also, zone three is similarly retail, healthcare, finance, and stuff like that. Um, Kind of giving an idea about how where the bulk of the AI is actually happening in grouping them indifferently, right? So definitely a lot of stuff is happening in the customer service, in self-driving car or connected car, AI robot. We know all of that, and similarly, things in terms of automating the stores and automating some of the medical stuff, analysis, and all that is also happening. All right. So I'll take a pause. Any questions or thoughts any of you want to share in AI? Okay. So IoT market. IoT is actually very important, and why it is important, right? Because AI, IoT, and 5G, they together play a big role here. AI, 5G, and big data, and of course IoT, right? These three are the key enabler for IoT. We'll take a look at what IoT is. This, whatever you see on the right-hand side is coming from the World Economic Forum. I liked how they kind of gave the four key areas where the IoT market is evolving. Now, what is IoT? I think let's define that. IoT, the Internet of Things, right, refers to the billions of physical devices around the world that are now connected to the Internet and collecting and sharing data. If you have um, a wearable device like your Fitbits, and it is constantly taking measurement of your health activities. It is not just taking the health measurement of the health activities, but also using the internet or maybe some sort of Bluetooth enabled stuff. It is sending that information to a server or maybe to your laptop or somewhere. But essentially, the whole idea is the IoT market as it is transitioning. Now, the adoption has happened in wearables, of course, right? Smartwatches, all of that. But then smart home has picked up big time in some countries. You don't see a whole lot in the US, in India, but US has definitely way ahead. Um, Smart thermostat, for example, if you are sitting in the office and you just want to turn on your heat, it's a winter time, 30 minutes before you come inside because you're in office, your driving time is 30 minutes, you can simply turn on remotely, right? Your AC is on, or the heat is on. Similarly, your AC is on. You can turn on and off the lights. Even already you have seen the smart speakers. We can do a lot of stuff, right? I forgot what is they call it. Google some assistant, little assistants or something. The whole idea is using a smart speaker. You can now put an order if it is kind of connected with their experimenting and working on it. You just sit there and say what do you want to order from where. It will start to build out the order for you. Very lot of stuff happening. Smart city. Um, there are many different use cases of smart city. Um, it all depends what the country really wants from the smart city. Now, but the bigger use cases really is how to manage your energy grids appropriately. so that the routing of the energy or electrical energy, especially, is happening appropriately to different parts of the country. But if you think about countries like US, I really don't know how many grids we have in India. Very large grids that supply the primary source of electricity across the country. Um, they have been constantly monitored. One energy grid fails, it has huge impact. And then routing electricity from another energy grid takes a lot of manual effort. So that's a big use case. If you think about everything runs in electricity, right? Our computers and everything. Similarly, smart street lights or smart public transportation. So I think India has already adopted some of it and still have a long way to go. And there are other use cases in India. I start to observe how we want to make smart cities. Similarly, smart industries, right? Um, Automated supply chain management. If you see Amazon, right? They have done already some of it. What Amazon has done in their warehouses where they have their own physical products. They call it Amazon Go, I believe. Like they have a small robotic device where you can, if once you put the order, it can actually go in. It's like a pod. It can go in and bring that boxes, whatever you are buying, right, to the person in the one central location where they just have to package it and ship it out. Now, how it is helping Amazon? Now you don't really have to think so much about where to stock the product. This product can be stocked somewhere because the robot can figure it out. It can figure it out by just looking at the levels in it, and it can bring it in. I think Walmart is also doing something similar, but kind of slightly different. So a lot of stuff happening, and in manufacturing, ton of stuff has happened. Assembling, especially if you look at a lot of car companies, the robots are actually doing bulk of the assembly of the the stuff that puts together for a car. So what is happening then from an IoT market perspective? If you look at it, IoT market is going to be growing in a 20%. And look at the IoT technology product segment, right? So that gives you an idea. IoT platform. I can think of IoT primarily, giving that platform because these are, also the devices, but then the platform to where you can capture. So between both of these, there is significant growth. Again, from our perspective, if we want to specialize in IoT, we should be thinking what is that within IoT, or we want to specialize on enablers of IoT, like whether within these, right? They are all interrelated. So just to give a perspective that there is a lot of growth within the industry that kind of should give us some indication of how to plan forward. 5G is the new stuff in the market, right? 5G is very important. If you have not done research on 5G, do a little bit of research on 5G. Why it is very important? First of all, it is taking the idea of edge into its true implementation. Right? A lot of things you keep hearing that edge computing. Edge computing is nothing but really having an edge node like a server closer to where the data is being generated. For example, if you have a large agricultural land where you have sensors monitoring water level, those sensors are sending data. Now, right now, those sensors are probably sending data to a cloud data center, which takes time. Then there is analysis happening on that data, and then some sort of information coming in. Maybe there is a lag before you realize, hey, you need to water the field, and then you have an IoT device where someone can just from remote says that, okay, what are the land for next half an hour? That's already available, by the way. Okay? Now, with 5G, you can have an edge node. 5G provides you that high speed um, um, throughput. Now, your sensors can use, once your sensors are enabled with that 5G chips, the data transfer speed is pretty high. And then with the edge, you can quickly get the data and really quickly get the responses. So the 5G is also enabling some of this edge computing. But more importantly, 5G, because of its speed, if you look at this, is 100 to 300 Mbps. That's the bandwidth right now for 4G, but 5G is 10 to 30 Gbps, gigabits. So huge, right? If you look at that, some 300 times or so. So mobile commerce will be so easy. And the equipments are relatively less expensive and easy to implement. So a lot of countries that have not done enough mobile commerce, you will see that is going to increase. India is kind of working on how to um, build their 5G infrastructure, right? But then beyond the speed, right? Um, 5G will enable the IoT because that's the thing. Because of 5G, because you get so much speed now, with the chip can easily transmit. It has some sort of range where it can quickly transmit the data. Right? Now, a lot of connected devices can easily communicate each other once they build out the protocol and the transport layer mechanism, right? And it will be easy, and a car can communicate to another car real time. So those kind of things the 5G is going to enable. Now, it's a huge market, quite frankly. If you look at it right now, here is the right, the global internet users is 3.6 billion. It is expected that it's going to grow to 5.6 billion now in another 7-8 years, 5-6 years. This is 2017, by the way, this report. So that tells you a view of not only how these markets are growing, because the user bases are growing, the bandwidth capacities are coming up, other devices are being available. So everything together really making it that industry to grow. Okay. All right, I'll take a pause. Any questions? So cloud.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sorry, please go ahead.
No. Do ask, please.
Yeah, actually, your learning curve is means from 19, I think, means 2000, sorry, 1998. You are learning all those things, right? But as a layman, and I want to learn some specific technology. So you have discussed about in means artificial intelligence and all those things. So what would be the shortest way to learn these things? Can you please share those links so that in
Good
the
question.
meeting,
Yeah. Let's take a look at this slide, right? I think that's a very important question. Right? A lot of time we do find it hard to figure out what to learn. Right? I personally have struggled with it. As my background is in, I started mostly with database because when I went to US, I became a DBA, Oracle DBA. Then I became a data architect. And I have invested most of my career around data technologies. For me, when I think about moving out of that technology to another technology, it's just a little bit difficult stuff. And the other thing, if you see that there are so many technologies, just take a look at this automation, right? How many different automation needs are there? And they are different, quite frankly. If you are automating your deployment, this is different. You are doing CI/CD. If you are automating your infrastructure, where you are provisioning the VMs or creating databases through a script, that is different, right? If you are automating your network, where you are automating your ports, switches, the security around the network. That is also different. There is a domain knowledge behind it, and there is a technology tools around it that you need to really understand. Now, to coming back to your question, how do I know what to learn and where should I be learning? I, I would say that first you should really think about what do you really like? Because computer is not one thing. Computer technology is not one thing. What do you really like? I would probably go back, look at when did you study your NCA? Where did you enjoy most of your time? Is it writing C code or writing C code for solving network programming? Or really writing SQLs and creating tables and looking at the queries and analyzing the data? And then look back and where do you stand? Like, what is that you do in last 6, 7, 8 months? If you are enthusiastic about technology, like you want to learn technology, then I would probably pick areas where it is natural for you to have a lot of interest. If you don't have natural interest, then it is a problem because you will be forcing yourself to learn something where it is taking much longer to learn. I would rather just learn enough about that, but not invest so much because if it is too hard for you to learn that specific area, let's say AI, it's not an easy area to learn and master. If it is too hard, let's learn enough. But whatever is your core that always attracts you, you should really be focusing on that and building your strength on that. From that perspective, I can tell you that all of us, we should have a concept of a T, like a vertical bar where you know a lot of stuff. Then the horizontal bar where you know a lot of stuff because conversation happens around so many things. Then the vertical bar where you should be knowing a lot deeper on that concept because that's your core. So I would say if your core is pretty strong, look around which one will supplement your core. For example, if my core is data management, data related technologies, if I really know I'm strong in understanding how to apply big data, how to really build platform solutions for big data, or how to really apply analytics, that automatically makes my value much higher. Even when I look for opportunities inside or naturally when there is stuff within the company that I am interested to do, it becomes easier. I don't know if I answered your question, but kind of, yeah.
So Jyotirbai, this is Paresh, Jyotirbai from 2000 batch. I have few questions. Can I
Sure.
ask?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jyotirbai, for this information. It was really good. So I am basically from healthcare domain. Okay. So as you said, right? Yes, we are lagging in AI and all automation. Okay. So I mean, what we do is generally we process claims and payments. Healthcare. When I say healthcare, it's a insurance. Okay, health insurance in US. Okay. So our main goal is we don't share the PHI data. Okay. So my question is, and also I know your feedback, like security and the privacy. Okay, these are the basic concerns why we are not moving to AI or any cloud in for that matter. Okay. So first question is we cannot share any PHI data. Okay. So that is the reason the healthcare domain basically lagging in AI. And second thing, when you talk about that Google Home or that for that matter smart cameras and all those things, right? So what I heard is like company like Google and Amazon, right? They are storing the conversion also, which is a breach of your privacy. Okay, and they also stores your pictures and videos and all those things like ring cameras and all those things. Okay, so that is another concern. I know your feedback. And another thing is when we talk about that making cars, for that matter Teslas and all those, they are using robots and all those things, right? So that is creating a bad impact to our economy also, right? Like a lot of people are jobless now because of using robots and all those things. So that is basically impacting badly to our economic. So how can we balance, like there are a lot of pros, I understand, but how can we balance this one, Jyotibai?
Yeah, so let me answer the first question about the PHI data. Yes, PHI. I work for healthcare at Blue Cross Blue Shield of
Okay.
Massachusetts. That's
Yeah.
an insurance payer segment, right?
Yeah, I'm in
Eh,
Massachusetts only, Jyoti.
oh,
I'm in.
awesome. Oh, awesome, awesome. I have many
Yeah.
good friends there, and I lived
Okay.
there for a long time. Now, the 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 PHI data is very important. The privacy laws
Yeah.
are very strict, right? But I think
Correct.
the way to get around, I really don't know the company you work for whether they are investing in these technologies.
Etna,
Now,
I work for Etna, I mean, but I moved from
Atna,
Etna.
sure, I know Atna. What we are doing at Dell also, we capture personal data, right? When you have
Yeah.
credit card, it's a
Correct.
PII data, not PHI, but PII data.
Yeah.
Now, um, what we do is we use data masking, but data
Okay.
masking can only be used in a way that it is consistent. For example, if you mask my name, it should be masked consistently for
Correct.
all
Correct.
instances
All
of
over.
my name, so
Yeah.
that
All
when you
over.
are correct,
Correct.
when
Correct.
you are running your query or running certain
Correct. Correct.
things, you can get the same response. And that's especially you should be doing in non-prod. Now,
Correct.
some companies are investing a lot of money. Dell is investing a lot on this, specifically around PII,
Okay.
where we are forcing to either use tools where it is commercially available tools, or write your own algorithms where you are consistently masking it so that it is still giving some sort of protection, but not giving you the same sort of data which what you have in production. You can get around it. Some use cases may be very
Correct.
hard, but most of the use cases can be addressed through that.
Yeah.
Um, but again, problem is these are uh, these kind of stuff always require a lot of investment, and if the company itself not willing to invest that much of money into technology, that's where things get slow. And healthcare especially
Yeah.
has been slow in adopting, taking their technology quickly into
Correct.
right doing this kind of
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah. Yes.
right? The other question is, the job situation. I would say we cannot stop the transformation happening. We cannot stop Elon Musk coming up with a new, autonomous cars. We cannot stop any of the companies doing the digital transformation, thereby reducing the manpower it needs. But the point I will strongly advocate is, if you look at the industry market growth, we just went through so many of them. They are not slowing down. Where somewhere it is 40% growth, somewhere it is 20% growth, somewhere it is 10, 15% growth. So every industry is growing. The question becomes automatically for people like us, if we can just position ourselves in continuously skilling so that we are strong in that particular area, we will always find a job. Now, second question is, how do we really address the job situation for people who are not skilled?
Correct.
That is the challenge that has been going on around the world, for large companies, for governments. Quite frankly, there are a lot of different kind of thinking. How do you really protect the job of normal people who are not technology guys? The cookie cutter answer, everybody is thinking that we need to make them technology enabled so that they are able to do stuff. A lot of countries have done it. They have they have actually given forceful opportunities so that it is happening. They get paid. But again, it is a questionable thing how the country is adapting to that change. Otherwise, it's a problem, right? Because the
Yeah.
jobs are not in your control or my control. It has to be at that societal country level or big companies thinking how to. There's a lot of conversation happening from a law and society impact perspective. But I think there are a lot of hope because if you and me are not doing the low end job, then someone else who is not as skilled can be skilled and take care of that low end jobs. Right? Possibly. I mean, we can only hope.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jyotibai.
Yeah, good question. Thank you. Any other question? I know we are kind of running low in time. Any other questions? Okay, cool. Quickly, right? You see that I will not take much time. Cloud market, you see that there is a growth happening, 17.5%. So everywhere it is growing. Big data market, it is going to grow at 10%, even though it is little slower than other markets, but still there is a growth, right? And automation, I really like the subject of automation because this is really opening up a lot of job opportunities. Whether it is test automation, deployment automation, infrastructure, network, whatnot, it is opening up a ton of companies, startups, and a lot of jobs. So knowing how to tap into this, and good thing is these areas do not need high skill. You don't have to invest a lot to skill yourself, but you can easily learn and position yourself in these areas, honestly. I always feel because they are very pointed, focused areas. And if you build any skill on that and kind of looking to grow your career in that area, it's actually easy. All right, the just slide just to throw in now the new normal, right? Work from home situation, and I can remember: do I work at home or do I live at work? That's where we're going to go in. But I just threw in it to lighten up. All right, so I can get into the Dell technology segment quickly. I won't spend and maybe leave five minutes for Q&A at the end. Just to give a perspective, of course, as Dell, right? We have multiple companies. We have bunch of stuff from networking to storage to all these client solutions, whether your desktop PC or a monitor or a printer and all those things. And then we have servers, right? And then we have bunch of software and tools from cloud to security to storage to even integrating between different applications. So we do have a ton of stuff, if you can see from a portfolio perspective. Um, and then how do we really look at from where to invest, right? That's a question every year from a strategic perspective. You have to figure out as the company leaders, like our company leaders, where to invest. Now, one way to look at this, which I think this will help you, is what is happening across the industry from a different key indicators perspective, right? Um, Again, there is a significant investment in cloud continuing. And a lot of service providers investing to meet for cloud and digital services. So that's just an indication that a cloud market is going to grow significantly. What are the industries are actually investing on what? Like telco and government is investing heavily in 5G. If they are heavily investing in 5G, for them to invest, what does that mean to us? They will need infrastructure. We are an infrastructure company. So yeah, giving some indication. Remote work and learning has gone up significantly. And being a industry leader in the PC and related hardware, there is an industry segment for us. There is a huge focus in security and all of those things, right? The theme you saw, now if you are the CEO of the company or COO of the company and kind of all those top leaders who are thinking where to invest the money and how to really realign your workforce. Just to give an idea, that is where kind of look at it, how to really change. You cannot simply stay on the same track that you were last year or the year before, because if the things are changing, you have to readjust and keep changing. And we are doing that. At Dell, what we are doing is we know that our way of selling is physical hardware. You buy a switch, you buy a computer, you buy a storage, you buy um, a server. But then you can build your own data centers. You can have your own cloud using that. And now what we are changing is the business model is selling all those physical hardwares as a service, like a cloud offering or like software as a service offering. Right? What does that mean is you need 1 petabyte of storage eventually, but you really need 20 terabyte right now. Fine. We'll give you 20 terabyte. We'll make sure that if you have a demand to grow, you will have extra storage in your data center. It will immediately make itself available, but we won't charge you for the extra storage. We're going to keep it in your data center, right? That's a model. That's interesting because if you see that, a lot of clients are very excited about that. They want to have the additional storage when they have a real need, but they don't want to pay for it because they really don't use that much always. So this flexibility in our business model, building out internal application to support that is what is kind of happening right now. But again, those are being driven by what is the industry is looking for, where the industry is heading, so those kind of stuff. Um, it just kind of give an idea about what we do at Dell is something called a digital transformation index. We look at this is done by, I believe, our own internal and third-party companies together, where a bunch of stuffs are being looked at, and then an index gets formed. Basically, understand where are the barriers, and what to do. So now, what it helps is to understand where can we really help industries or companies, and how do we really build our products and services around it so that we're tapping into challenges of the industry. So that gives you a perspective. If you look at it, there are kind of challenges. Um, that's the transformation index. I think that's okay. Well, it's kind of and where the investment is happening in next to 1 to 3 years. So if you see that a lot of from this is from an overall perspective, a lot of investment is how going to be happening like this. So we can align our products and services around that. So just to give you again a little bit of perspective, I think this is the last slide. Yeah. Let's keep it. So I guess the question that I would like you to leave with is, what's your digital strategy for company, for yourself, right? Why? Because your company, of course, has a digital strategy around what is happening in the world, where the markets are heading, where things are really growing, where things are shrinking, what business opportunities are opening up. Now, similarly, you should have a digital strategy, understanding where do you stand and what you like to do, what is your interest, and where should you invest your time so that you are kind of staying on par with where you see you need to grow from technology, from development perspective, so that you are always relevant and staying ahead. I think that's where I want to leave you, and then we can have a question and answer session. I don't know how much time we have. Probably a few minutes.
Thank you, Jyotibai, so much. Very thought-provoking input, very engaging discussion. I think questions. Let's ask the questions. Anyone has any question?
Yeah,
Yes, Murli.
right. So hold on. The question that Arun asked, right? I think I might have answered to some extent. See, the 2050 is too far away. It is 2021, right? Things change so dramatically. If you look at these last 3 decades, things have changed dramatically. And I would say things are even rapidly changing for the future. I would not really think 2050 is too far away. Probably let's think next 5 years. And you probably got an idea about what is changing in next 5 years. And if we can stay relevant and handle the next 5 years, then as we are progressing for next 5 years, we will figure it out. The country can figure it out. Individually, we can figure it out how to really transform ourselves. I think my suggestion would uh, be in present, but also understand what is happening, so that you figure it out how to really align to that. Okay, so questions, please. Murli, you had a question?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, this is Prahlad, 2002 batch. I have a couple of questions. Okay, so I need your guidance and suggestion. See, everyone knows that it's the data will be huge, right? Whether it will be 5G, that will be like processing and facilitating the infrastructure, okay, or cloud will facilitate everything to scale up. So there are two, three concerns I have in my mind. Okay, being like a PHI data similar to PI data, which is implemented in Europe. Okay, so I have one country. Okay, so which having regularly like every day the transaction in millions. Okay, and the data size, physical data size is approximately like 6 GB per day. Okay, it's going to increase like to more than terabyte. So the agent are across the world. Okay, so we are in a like position to provide a solution. Okay, like kind of facilitated the encryption. Okay, performance and how to handle such huge data customized to the agent specific, because every country has a different relation. Okay, yeah, maybe India has a different regulation with other African country or US. Okay, so provided that what would be like a good scenario, or you think uh, to handle such kind of large data and provide the solution to the agent?
Yeah. So let me just give you a reference to another use case, right?
Mhm.
Um, Recently we implemented a solution. I'm part of that through Dell, part of our Dell Giving, so the CSL event. We have built applications where the primary health segment can implement mobile devices, where a lot of stuff around your healthcare need of general public can be supported through that. We started implementing that for Karnataka, and then that was expanded to uh, Andhra Pradesh, and now it has been gone into a few other states. Right? When we started out with it, we have a central server approach where all of this data is coming in, but then we had an architecture where data isolation is happening, meaning that if the data is coming in from Karnataka and the specific guys for certain primary health segments can see the data, those authorization and role-based security were already built into the concept architecturally. Okay, so data isolation was happening. Now, question of volume. When we brought in all of these to the central server, we started to run into issues because it was virtually not possible to have one central location sustain that growth in terms of even giving the speed to collect the data, but also running reports and whatnot, right? Now we have gone into a decentralization mode. And again, this is a government, we are working with Indian government, okay? State. So now you use the NIC data center in some cases to actually host the data. So again, this is an architectural stuff as to how to handle the data. So now every state have their own isolated kind of the data sets, but then central government needs to have that view of certain things. So then you have to build additional solutions where you can provide that view that require for central government to make some decisions from the different state data, right? Now going back to your question, I really do not know how can exactly it be handled, but to me it looks like because your volume is more and you need to have a way to manage the volume. The only way to manage the volume is either you have the hardware that can handle the volume, or you have to divide the volume across multiple hardwares where they can be handled independently. And there has to be some sort of reconciliation and consolidation if that is needed. Like you need to have a bigger picture view of what's happening across all the countries, but you don't need all the data elements. You probably need certain data elements. So having those kind of approach architecturally will help you to figure out how to approach it. That's kind of my thought based on what I think is possible.
Basically, what we are proposing is like, uh, the challenge is like the GDPR, the General Data Protection
Mhm,
Rule by the EU. So the data needs to be physically located in that European country, okay, where the data belongs to. Okay, that is one challenge. You cannot keep the data of UK in US, or you cannot keep the US data in UK like that. Okay.
mhm, mhm,
So it is specific to the region, or you can say country. Okay, if it is Europe Union, then you can keep in anywhere in the Europe Union, like in a data center. Okay, for scaling perspective, we are not like very much worried about hardware, but the thing is like, see, as the volume will increase, okay, and the performance of the reporting and all analytics will decrease. Okay, so I'm just giving our thought process. Let us know if it is okay. So we thought of like creating a hot wallet or hot database, you can say, and one will be cold. Okay, like your data warehouse. So at least minimum 1 year of data we can keep in the hot database, and rest of the archive data in the cold database. So will that help?
that should help. That should help if that is acceptable. I would also suggest that take a look at the MPP databases. If you have to store these in a database, and options are limited to use like a Hadoop cluster or a HDFS cluster, right? So be it, then I would also look at what is the appetite to implement an MPP database, whether it is Teradata or I mean, I would probably suggest if the volume is going to be significantly high, prioritize a higher investment, but that will give the throughput, performance, and scaling that needed. If not, there are other MPP databases because what is that gives you is you can continuously scale out your hardware. The problem with SMP databases like pure Oracle, right? There is a limitation as to how much can you scale out. Oracle has a great concept, but it still has limitations. But when you have MPP databases, the hardware limitation is less because it can really grow to multiple clusters, hundreds of nodes. That is the advantages. You can take a look at that. I mean, based on the projected growth, what you see.
Okay. So we are still like, figuring out which database will be suited. They are asking us to do the POC in NoSQL. Each NoSQL will be good, like,
Sorry, say that again.
or no NoSQL database.
Yeah, of course you can do it. A lot of companies
No,
are doing it anyway, right?
Ye-
no, yeah.
Yeah, so Paul, this is Paresh. So we are using NoSQL for it now. I mean, it's a similar concept,
Mhm.
whatever you are saying. Okay, it's basically a enterprise data hub. We were created using NoSQL Mark logic. Okay, so whatever relevant data, right, from your core system should move to the enterprise data hub, and then you can send those data to your portals or run any BI or any reporting. Okay, and from the CAP system, you can move all the data to the data warehouse. So we were using Mark Logic, and performance wise, it was very good. I mean, we had also similar problem like 6 GB of data we are getting.
Mhm.
So we used Mark Logic as the NoSQL database and run push the data from core to the enterprise data hub. Just to add.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, see, I think the important point to note here is really it will probably need a little bit of time
Yeah,
experimenting, figuring out what is the right
correct.
solution.
Correct.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you, Jyoti.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
having. Mhm.
Okay, is there any other question? Anybody has any other question for Jyoti? Okay, I think that's it then. Okay, thank you, Jyoti, so much for this 1.5 hour we have spent with you. Yeah, personally, very much informative for me. Learned a lot of things, and those who were looking forward for some career suggestion, I hope they have got some very important clues here. Please reach out through our forum to Jyotivai for any other queries you have. Is part of our UMA group as well.
Thank you so much, Jyotiraj. Thank you so much. This is Paresh.
All right, thank you so much,
Thank
everyone.
you.
I appreciate that you find time because it's not me speaking, but also you're kind of taking away something is very important. I'm very appreciative for your time. Thank you again, and feel free to reach out to me. Not a problem. Hopefully, in future I will have another opportunity for another topic.